The Pistons are the basketball champions of the world.
Detroit, it's time. It's playoff time, Detroit. Let's go to work.
Shout out Detroit. I got to buff up, you know what I'm saying? Detroit, I'm all the way in. Detroit Pistons, I'm all the way in. Let's do it.
What's up, Pistons fans? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Buffs On podcast. Valley here. I'm joined by Gabe and Connie. No Amit today, unfortunately. But we're going to continue with our season previews by position. And today we've got the bigs. And just to capture who we're going to go over today, we're going to do Tobias Harris, who we didn't throw in the wings, just kind of make numbers fit. Tobias Harris, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren, and newly acquired B-ball Paul Reed. We're going to get into these guys right away, and I think we're going to start with the most prized possession guys. We're going to go right into Jalen Duren. Connie, I'll hand it over to you. What are you expecting from Jalen Duren this year? Things you're looking out for, and give us that season preview.
What I'm looking for Jalen Duren, number one most important thing, top of the banner, top of the billboard, is defense. I mean, we've seen it from JD. We've seen his offensive capability. I expect it to continue to grow in little bits and little pieces, maybe passing game, turnovers, maybe a little bit more off the dribble, a little bit more with the touch game. But what really matters from turning Jalen Duren from like a good fun piece to a all-star caliber, like winning guy is the ability to play defense. Last year, he was kind of slow on rotations. He would often find himself like out of position and a half step back from where he really needed to be. For a guy that is so supremely athletic and can get off the ground, is long, and has those insane jumping skills on the offensive end, he averaged less than a block a game as a starting center, which is pretty low. So what I want to see from him this year, and what I'm expecting from him, is a jump on the defensive end, is a greater understanding of how things are going to work, and really just make his presence felt and make a bigger impact on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think defense is the main thing we're going at. But I just want to touch on one point you said, Connie. You said growth in offensive game. What does growth in his offensive game look like to you? Is that more post touches? Is that
No.
a flash of a jumper? Is that a more of a passing sense from a post? Like, what are you looking for in terms of growth in an offense?
Maybe a little bit of flashing jumper, especially in the mid range if the shot is there. I think what I think of it for him is like some touch around the basket stuff, which he definitely improved on last year. He's got some creative finishing, but it's also the passing. Like we see the passing chops. The assists went up last year, but the turnovers did as well. So I'd like to see like a continued jump in his like ability to read the floor and make plays for himself and other guys, but as long as that keep it efficient, make the right plays. We talk so much about short roll and how effective it is. Jalen Duren could be an outstanding short roll playmaker, and especially with the shooters coming in this year, I think it should make it a lot easier for him both to be a roller and to be a distributor off that roll. So really, it's just kind of like improving all the things that we did see. We saw a little bit of like close range dinker dumper jump shooting. I want to keep seeing that. I want to see the finishing around the basket. I want to see some passing to shooters, some DHO work. Working the handoff up top with Cade or Ivy or whoever. With all those shooters. Setting a harder screen. A bunch of stuff, like just like around the margins, just improving in the skill set that he's already shown to have.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Jalen Duren did average 2.4 assists a game, along with his near 14 a game and 11 and a half rebounds. Gabe, gonna shift it over to you now for Jalen Duren. More to add on to what Connie said?
Not more to add, no. Specifically, what I want to see is pick and roll. Can he evolve offensively in the pick and roll, like you guys said, as a passer, as a more dynamic finisher other than just an alley-oop, which is great. Like he doesn't necessarily need to add on to that in order to be a great offensive player. It's more defensively because he's going to be putting pick and rolls X amount of times a game. He will be the primary pick and roll defender. If he's not completely lost on 90% of those, it's going to look a lot better than last year. And it pretty much needs to be, because that is kind of what's stopping him from. We were talking the other day, is I think he could sniff an all-star team.
Whoa.
Yeah, you know, 20 points, 15 rebounds. Is that really that crazy for Jalen?
Yeah,
Um,
To average, I would say,
20
yeah.
yeah, to
points,
average, like
rebounds.
kind of went through like the bigs of the East. There's not like there's Bam and Embiid, and behind that, like if we're sniffing around the play-in, if we're kind of in the mix, and he's just on an absolute tear, there he is. And speaking of that offensive improvement, I do think he's gonna start taking some threes this year. He shot what, like 80% at the line last year, something like that.
Ooh,
He
I don't
has
know.
the
Yeah.
he has the
Oh,
touch.
I'll be mistaken. He shot 79%. All right.
Yeah, so I mean, he has the touch. It's just like, he's practicing. I'm sure he's in the gym putting up shots. Just be able to hit. I'd rather see him take those than like a mid range because honestly, it's just it's just statistics. I don't think he's gonna be Stewart level, but I do think down the line he's gonna be almost like Bam is. Bam's not a good shooter, but Bam can hit the occasional three if the defense is just completely ignoring him, which I'd like to see. Other than that, I think he's gonna be awesome. He's still what is he still not allowed to drink here? He's still under 21, right?
Yeah, he turned
He
20
is.
in this last season.
He
So
is.
I mean,
Yeah.
like I'd be expecting some contract talks to start after this year because he's going to be on our team. It's just a matter of is he going to be on the max like Andre Drummond, or are we going to be able to get him a little less than that? But that's a conversation for a later day. I'm just happy to watch him play again. I cannot wait to see him and Cade play.
Yeah, his utter dominance, and vertical threat was so refreshing to have. We haven't had that since I would say like a younger Andre Drummond, but we never obviously had like an elite point guard to match him with. And that's no disrespect towards Reginald Jackson there. But I think the most growth we'll get from Duren, for me, what I see is like what you said, Connie, the addition of spacers for him. Having that pick and roll with space, with him and Cade Cunningham running that. I touched on it a couple pods ago or two about that Gortat pick and roll. I just think there's going to be so many options that come from that pick and roll. Him catching early and having a drop off pass to a cutter, where if we do have less spacing, and that cutter could be Asar, Ron Holland, Bobby Clintman. Even we saw his cutting ability. But the overall spacing, I think, is going to just contribute to it massively. As we wrap things up from Duren, he averaged about 14 and 12 last season with 2.5 assists a game. Are you expecting a statistical jump in all of those categories? Um, if so, tell me which, if you believe it, then yes. And then tell me also which category you think will see the most jump and which one you'd like to see the most. I would like to see blocks. I know, Connie, you touched on it, under a block a game. I know that doesn't tell the whole story on defense, but Jalen Duren should be getting over a block a game. I want to see that above 1.5. I want to see the overall contests up. I don't know. Gabe and I were discussing the top scores we'd have. I don't see much of an increase in his point production. I don't see a 3-point shot really coming along. I just don't think that'll be the most necessary. I think the rebounds will skyrocket, and I think the minutes will skyrocket as I hope he becomes an
Skyrocket?
anchor. Yes, skyrocket. He averaged 11.8, and I'm thinking he's going to really take it on to be an anchor of this defense, especially if his good buddy Beef Stew is going to be dropping onto the bench lineup, which is very possible. Are you seeing statistical jumps from Jalen Duren for the both of you? What do you think, Connie?
I don't see rebounding skyrocket because it's already 11.6. Like that's already high. I expect blocks and assists to go up. Like all the same stuff that we talk about for like all the playmakers applies to Duren here too. He's a good passer, and having guys to pass to will make a difference. Yeah.
Gabe?
I think all his stats are going to increase. I'm going to say he's going to average like 18 and 14 this year. Um,
Oh my god.
I think this guy is special, and I agree as well assists. I think he can average more assists, but I also think, yeah, just more. It's not necessarily growth that much. It's just having more shooters on the court around him rather than Marvin Bagley and such.
Connie, where do you rank Jalen Duren in your center list in the East? Gabe has him at 3.
I have a 3.
No, that's not locked in because I wasn't. We were doing a little talking.
Top of my head, Embiid, Bam. I put Jared Allen ahead of him right now.
That's not crazy. Yeah.
Maybe Brooke Lopez.
Yeah, because
I'd
I'm
say
not even
yeah,
taking Brook.
fifth is not bad for him. I'd say right now.
if
All right.
Jakob Poeltl.
Not a chance.
No, I don't know. I think
No chance for them.
last season, if we're talking about contributing to winning, I think Jakob Poeltl was better than Jalen Duren.
I
Sure.
think this year
I
he
think
could pole vault ahead of like Brooke Lopez, Hurdle, and like kind of be on Jared Allen level. Is kind of what I'm expecting him to be.
I
Yeah,
agree.
that really like all depends on the defense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the defense, I think, is was very reliant on health. He missed a lot of games due to his ankle and ankles last season. And I remember him responding to somebody on Twitter, calling him out for not playing defense. And he said, it's hard when you're hurt. So I think he was lacking a bit of like, I don't know if that's an excuse, but the point is that I'm expecting a lot of defensive growth from him. And I think that's going to be the biggest key for him.